Hi all, Fuzzy Barbarian here once again. Yesterday I posted my Warrior of Poison to Confusion build. Today I'm doing a Paralysis version of that. Now, I have to eat some humble pie here because in the Poison build I commented that Paralysis sucked, but after playing around with it a bit more I can say with the right gear on, Paralysis can be a lot of fun. And it's actually pretty darn great when used on human bosses correctly. Watch how easy it is to run through Marabashi's bosses with this build, even using a Guardian Spirit without any damage perks. In this case I'm using Daibawashi for the extra luck and equipment drop rate. What I'm doing is proccing confusion on the enemies by hitting them with 2 elemental shots, putting weakness on them, and then drowning them in a cloud of jellyfish powder. You don't actually have to put weakness on them though, but it helps to make it a habit since sometimes you do need it. There's one boss here, the third one, who is quite resistant to Paralysis. Fortunately, he's also the easiest of the 6 to parry, and with all the statuses you can put on him, he's pretty easy to obliterate with a single strike. The same resistant boss is one of the 2 bosses you fight in the 2 Masters, but in this you can see while he is still resistant, he is not immune, which makes this double boss battle pretty fun to play using Paralysis. I should point out that Paralysis, like any status effect, is not useful against all enemies. Some enemies can take so long to put Paralysis on that ultimately it isn't even worth trying. As an example, look how long it takes to proc Paralysis on Kermit the Hut. In a real boss battle, where the battle has started already, basically you're never going to be able to proc it on any resistant or fast moving yokai. But what's good about this build is that, thanks to the Yasukani Magatama we've got on, we don't need to proc Paralysis in situations where it is too difficult to do so. Like here, in the 320 level Tea Time Entertainment mission. There's no time to play around with casting anything here, because if you take too long to kill Nioh, you're going to get saddled with a second bird bastard, and none of us like these birds. Restless Spirit is a level 330 mission where the same issue applies. Unless you specifically go out of your way to prolong the encounter, or unless you specifically need to take out the cannon dude to try to help you finish the encounter, there's no time to proc Paralysis on any enemy here. You're better off ending them straight away with no casts on them at all. And that's easily done with this build and using Windstone. So the build is pretty simple. We have 4 pieces of the Warrior of the West set on. The key perks that gives us are close combat damage of 12.2% and close combat attack of 32.9% whenever the enemy is electrified. In our shortcuts we have Lightning Shot. This is how we proc electricity to gain the benefit of this perk. The other set here is the Master Swordsman armor. We have 3 pieces of that on here to get skill key reduction of 14.7%, close combat damage of 12.2%, and Sign of the Cross damage of 30%. Speaking of Sign of the Cross, it is fantastic to use on a paralysed enemy. You can one-shot some yokai bosses from behind, even without damage from behind perks. A number of human bosses die in one shot using Sign of the Cross too.
できたわ。主の技、世に見せてみよ。この感覚、久方ぶりよ。
The final piece of armor we have is the hino-enma Kabuto. This is the first piece in the build that buffs our damage on paralyzed enemies, with a whopping 58.3% extra close combat attack. The Yasukani Magatama I'm wearing adds 24.2% close combat attack when enemies are paralyzed, as well as yokai close combat damage. The prayer beads I have on add another 23.8% close combat attack on paralyzed enemies, as well as a little extra yokai close combat damage. If we take a look at the special effects we have going here, we can see so many extra damage possibilities that it's crazy. We've got 27% skill damage, which entirely relates to 7% from Clan Honda and 20% from the Guardian Spirit Kato. We've got 40.7% in final blow damage. Below that you can see yokai close combat damage of 37.3%, which comes from a mixture of the extra yokai damage on our accessories and also from allocating our prestige points into yokai close combat damage. The human close combat damage of 14% there is also from prestige point allocations. The 44.4% close combat damage there includes the close combat damage from the two armor sets that we've mixed, plus 20% more from our sword. We also have 30% extra skill damage when using Sign of the Cross, which of course stacks on top of the 27% we already have from our Clan and Guardian Spirit, and we have an extra 32.9% close combat attack when enemies have been electrified. But the biggie here is 106.3% extra close combat attack against paralyzed enemies, which is pretty huge. All in all, the extra damage this build can pump out is pretty massive, no matter which angle you look at it. I mentioned Kato is our Guardian Spirit, but if I'm farming for gear, I'll probably put on Daibawashi for a little more luck and equipment drop rate. You can see the shortcuts I'm using mostly. The elemental shots you use don't really matter apart from lightning. You need lightning to get the close combat attack when electrified perk working. In a previous video I mentioned Sloth is useful for farming, but in hindsight I really think Protection is a better talisman if you can finish yokai bosses quickly. The exception is against difficult double bosses, like in Return of the Goa'uld, if that's how you pronounce it. In that I think a Sloth can be very helpful to slow down the final two bosses, but it's up to you whether you use Sloth or Protection really. I'm using Hemlock Broth on my blades, which puts Paralysis on them. You could skip that for a different element if you wanted, like say water. I have it there for the very few times it will help proc Paralysis, and sometimes it does, and because, well, this is a Paralysis build. But most of the paralytic effects we're proccing are coming from the Medusa powder. So yeah, if you don't want Paralysis on your weapon, I think it's pretty safe you can probably skip it if you want to and use a different element. I'm also getting a little extra damage from the agility bonus on my primary ranged weapon, plus a little bit of fire damage, which is good if you swap out one of the elemental shots for a fire shot. I've been mixing up what shots I use for testing purposes, so they pretty much change, maybe even in the videos I've shown you today. But I probably prefer water because of the extra subsequent damage it can give you. But you could use fire there instead. You could also use fire on your weapon instead of Hemlock Broth too, to take advantage of the extra damage if you really wanted to. Skill wise, get all the passives on all the weapon skill trees as they apply all the time, including those not listed as passives such as Grapple, Living Water Heaven, Living Water Man, and Living Water Earth. For dual swords, you want Sign of the Cross 1 and 2, Tacky Arts 3, Momentum, Windstorm 1 and 2, Defense Arts 3, and the Shrike. Ninja skills, you need Enlightenment, Poison Hemlock Broth 3, Poison Medusa Powder 3, Dashing 3, Cloud Runner 3, Dodging 3, Sneak Attack, Snakebite Technique 3, and Ninja Tool Mastery 3. For Onmyo Magic, go for Weakness Talisman 3, Sloth 3, Awakening, Lightning Shot 3, and at least one other elemental shot of your choosing. Pure Mind 3, Protection Talisman 3, Evil Ward 3, Carnage Talisman 3, and Incantation Mastery 3. Any other option you might have seen that I have here are optional and not really essential. Just get them when you have the excess points and don't worry about them until you do. Core stats wise, I'm level 547 and have a lot of core stats filled out, but that's really irrelevant to the effectiveness of this build. In Nioh, what matters first and foremost is your combination of gear and special effects, aka your build. The best build at level 547 will, in most cases, also be the best build you can use at level 102. The odd exception to this are heavy builds that require max stamina and strength just to get you to a B agility rating, but for this build that's not an issue. Your focus should be on skill and heart for the scaling of your dual swords, and on putting enough points into dexterity and magic to get the skills I've already gone over. To minimise the amount of Amrita you'll need to put into dexterity and magic, make sure you only put the minimum number of points into them in order to unlock each skill first. Unlock skills one at a time until you have all the ones I've mentioned in this video. At that point you can stop putting points into magic and dexterity and put them all towards maxing skill, heart, and obviously a bit of stamina to improve your agility. It won't take much, as you do not need to max out magic or dexterity anywhere near the levels I have here. My rule of thumb is put the minimum number of points you need into your core stats for magic and dexterity until such time as you have the bare minimum number of skills you need from those. Then after that, put your remaining points into scaling your weapon, namely skill and heart. Oh yeah, and also make sure you aim to put attack on all your armor pieces by inheriting attack from gloves. As far as getting the gear goes, you have to forge the hino-enma kabuto. To do that, you need the smithing text, which the boss hino-enma drops. Farming the Way of the Samurai mission deep in the shadows is probably the best way to go there, though I do think she can drop it anywhere you can find her. You can find Master Swordsman armor in the dojo mission The Grimace Blades. It also drops all the time in Marabashi. Warrior of the West gear drops everywhere too, but you can get it fast from an invitation from the Warrior of the West submission. I also tend to leave my own Revenant in the Disappearing Rajatai a lot, so also check near the spawning shrine there as well. You might get lucky and find my Revenant with all the stuff on it. In the end though, the one catch you'll have trying to mirror this build is how RNG decides to treat you in your hunt for the Yasakani Magatama that has the Paralysis close combat perk on it. I can't really help you there other than to say don't hold your breath. If you're going to farm for Yasakanis, then do what I do. Whack a movie on the TV and start running the Tea Time Entertainment mission over and over. It's an easy one to do while half watching a TV show too, and gives you a high chance at a Yasakani when you finish it. You've seen how fast I finished it in this video. Kill Nioh, kill the bird, rinse and repeat until you get what you want. That's my best recommendation for getting a Yasakani since patch 1.06 dropped. There's also a plan for increased mission rewards if you really want the extra chance. And of course, you can get Yasakanis doing a request from Ginchio and the Trail of the Master as well. And that's about everything. So yeah, this is a pretty fun build to play, and it's a very powerful build, so I think a lot of you will find this well worth trying once you manage to get yourself that Yasakani. So good luck in your quest for that. Anyway, that's it. So until next time, bye for now.